How's it going? Thanks for having us.
Well, thank you for coming on our show. And you're here to screen your film Freaks.
That's right,
So,
yeah. Very excited to be in Stockholm showing Freaks. Yeah.
Is it your first time in Stockholm? Or?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh.
It's beautiful. I mean, the weather's perfect. It's been awesome. Just love all the architecture and the people are super nice.
Yeah, I mean, the weather is actually warmer now than it has been for a couple of months.
Yeah.
So you're lucky. You're
Yeah,
lucky.
it's awesome.
Yeah. So I was wondering, how and when did you two meet?
Well, we met in 2007, in the summer of
Okay.
2007,
12 years ago.
on a reality television show. There was a competition that Steven Spielberg did where they were looking for filmmakers from all over the world. Adam was from Miami, I was from Vancouver, and we were some of the people that were on this competition. And you had to make a different film every week. And then it was like American Idol. America would vote.
Just filmed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you would be filmed, you'd make movies, people would vote, you'd be sent home if you sucked. And eventually we got to know each other really well. And then afterwards we became very close friends and just helped each other as indie filmmakers, and then eventually started doing small things together. And then eventually wrote Freaks together.
Well, you wrote Freaks together, and I was wondering, how was the collaboration between writing something together? How was the process? Is it difficult or is it easy?
We really enjoyed writing something together as opposed to separately. Writing by yourself can be pretty lonely and
Very hard.
and hard to kind of figure out how to fix problems. And it's so great to have a partner when you're writing, because you can basically just kind of talk about the story with each other. And hey, what about this? What about that? Oh, this doesn't seem right. How do we fix it? And you have kind of a partner to figure all that out with you. Because sometimes writing by yourself can be pretty hard, at least from our perspective.
Yeah, that's true. I write horror scripts myself. But I also notice sometimes, you're like, but I really like this, and the other person's like, no, trust me, that sucks. You do it my way.
Well, the do it my way is the problem. What you gotta.
Yeah, that's true. That might not be the best partner. And I don't know them. Maybe they're great. But part of it is making it more of a conversation.
Yeah, what we always try and do, because there are times where we both feel strongly about something, is ask each other, why do you think that's the best, and why do you think that's the right way? Because then often, instead of the idea, you can think of what is the idea doing, and then you can think of a new idea that does both of why. So if it's like, well, I want something that's really scary, well, I want something that reminds the audience of the mother, then you can be like, well, what's something that's scary and reminds the audience of the mother? And you can come up with a third idea that achieves both ideas, and usually it's way better than one idea or the other.
I think sometimes people get caught up in thinking that their ideas are themselves, and so they might get hurt or hurt their feelings if you don't like their idea. And the important thing is to realize that your ego is not your writing. You are not this sentence, and that what's really important is what's best for the project.
Yeah.
To make this as good as it can be, even if it means that you don't get to win a certain argument.
Yeah, exactly. You have to be able to let some things go to make the story better, to make the process bloom, so to speak.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, talking about your film Freaks, I was wondering, how did Emil Hirsch get attached to the project?
Yeah, we sent the script to a lot of different people, and we had very, very little money. So most of them immediately just didn't even read it.
They were like, no.
That's what happens when you're trying to get big actors attached. The way it works is usually you need some kind of relationship with the agent for them to even look at it. And in our case, we hired what's called a casting director. The casting director sends it to agents for the actor's consideration, and usually you send it and then they don't even respond, and then you have to send it to someone else. It's a very frustrating process.
And a lot of a lot of the time they don't respond. A few times when we were sending it out, a few really big actors responded and said, "This script is amazing, but there's no way you can make this movie for how little your budget is." And so they just said, "I'm sorry, but I can't do it, but it's a great script." So that kind of encouraged us a little bit. And then when we sent it to Emil, he was the first actor that read it and was like, "This is an incredible story." He's like, "I'd be lucky to be a part of it." And he even said all those other actors who said no are going to fire all their agents because they're going to see how good this movie is. And and so he just really believed in it. But it took a really long time to find someone who did.
Wow. Well, that's really cool of him to really step up and believe in your project so much.
And he was a great partner through the whole making of the movie. He was very much a filmmaker as well. He cared about the whole movie, whereas a lot of actors usually only think about their role or their character.
Like, I'm done.
Yeah, or they only care that their part is good. They don't think about the rest. And he was almost always thinking about every part of the film, making sure that it was as good as it could be, which was really helpful.
Bruce Dern also, he was actually the first actor who got attached to the movie. We sent, he was one of the people we sent it to into the black holes, but he called us back very quickly and said that he wanted to do it, which was sort of a shock because he was the first actor who actually said yes.
Wow.
And he really connected to the story of saving his daughter. He has a daughter, and so he was and he doesn't usually do science fiction or horror films. He's really only about drama usually. But he saw this character as something he really related to. And was, he was very intense about it. "I am Mr. Snowcone," he's told us. So he got very into it.
But is that usually how it works? Like when you write a screenplay, do you have like specific actors you have in mind, or do you wait and see who is interested and who is willing to work with you?
I think it depends. I mean, in our case, we didn't have specific actors in mind, but I think that's a good approach as well, especially if they're actors that you know. If there's someone you know that you think would be an amazing actor in your movie, and it can be very helpful to write a part for them. In our case, we were approaching it from a different perspective. We were writing a movie about a family, and so we kind of needed a kid and a father and a mom and a grandfather, and we just kind of wrote each of those characters to try and make them as interesting as possible so that an actor would want to play them, because that's one of the things that you can do when you don't have a lot of money, which is try and make all the characters as interesting as possible so that they have as many different things going on as possible, because then actors will want to do it. If it's sort of the same thing every scene and very similar, or if it's very similar to stuff they always do, if they always play cops and you offer them a cop, they're not going to be that interested in doing it, but if it's a role they've never played and it gets to scream and cry and laugh, and the audience will love them and hate them, and they'll get to die and like all these different things, then the money becomes less important because the opportunity to do good work becomes more important.
Actors love to stretch their muscles just like filmmakers. They love to do their craft and play a role that they can really sink their teeth into.
Yeah, no, I understand. But it's so great that you got Emil and you got Bruce. I mean, I think they did a really good job.
Yeah, it ended up being perfect. It was exactly what it should have been. So it all works out in the end.
Well, you've done a lot of films in different kind of genres, like comedy and drama and sci-fi and horror. Which of these genres is your favorite to make?
Yeah, Freaks is really an expression of what we want to do as filmmakers, because it has a little bit of everything.
And we wrote it.
It's suspenseful, it's funny at times, it's scary at times, and it has very real characters that you can connect to and root for, and also empathize with. We've enjoyed all the different things we've worked on, but they've all been jobs for hire that we got hired to create someone else's project. And so when that happens, you're very lucky to get paid and hired as a director. But you're always trying to do the best you can by doing their work. And so this was a very creatively rewarding experience because we were making it for ourselves, and we were making a passion project, which was our personal artistic expression, basically.
Yeah.
And it kind of mixes together every genre. It's sort of, it doesn't really, a lot of movies come out as one genre because sort of the money people and the company making it are trying to service and sell a product to a group of people. But we weren't as worried about that. We just wanted to make a movie that we were excited by. And so, like Adam said, we tried to just do all the genres that we like.
Yeah. No, I understand. When you're able to mix different genres and it really works, it's amazing. That you can really go from one scene, like a drama, and then go into horror, and then more sci-fi.
And then comedy. There's a lot of stuff in the movie that's very funny. And a lot of people have told us when they watch the movie by themselves, they think it's funny, but they don't think anyone else will. And then when they see it with an audience, they're really surprised because the whole audience is laughing. But they assumed only they, because it's kind of dark humor, a little bit weird, but it's fun to see it with an audience.
Yeah. So, what was your inspiration for the movie Freaks?
There were a couple things. One was I was a new father at the time we were writing, so I had a 5-year-old son, and we were very interested in how kids start to try to understand the world. It's such a curious thing to watch because we understand our world very well. We know what's real and what isn't, what's dangerous and what isn't, but kids don't, and it's very confusing to them. My son would wake up from a nightmare and be terrified, and we'd have to convince him that it wasn't real. But then, sometimes he would run towards the street, and we would get really scared, and he would be so confused because to him that seemed totally fine, like there's no cars there or anything. So it's so interesting to see how a kid tries to make sense of the world, and we kind of started talking about how if you were telling a movie story where the world wasn't our world, that was a science fiction or horror world where you didn't understand the rules, and we could put the audience inside the kid's perspective and see the world as the kid is seeing the world, and the audience would have to figure out the world that they were in. It would almost like be like being the kid, and so that was one of the first inspirations.
Yeah, and then we told the movie from that perspective very faithfully. So pretty much every scene in the movie is only scenes that Chloe, the main character, is in. We even shot the movie from her height. So every camera angle is, when you look at adults, you're like looking up at them, up at their noses, and they're like leaning over you. And when you're with her, you're right at her eye line.
All the sound design is from her perspective. So when she's having one of her weird visions that happens in the movie, you're hearing that vision too. You're never outside looking at her. You're just, you are, but it feels like you're with her.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, now that you mention it, I remember, I'm like, that's true. With the, So, but will you continue making horror films?
Yeah, we love movies that are always... I wouldn't even call them horror films. I think people die and their brains get splattered, and so you can say that they're horror films, but we always think of it almost more as just like thrillers or sort of intense things that are just very real. Like we never do something because we think, oh, this is what a horror film needs. We do something because, oh, in this situation, this person would die. Like,
or we love just thinking like, what's gonna make the audience's heart pound? What gives you that great feeling of, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. That's what we want to create. It's not like, what kind of horror thing. It's more like, what feeling do we want to inspire?
Yeah, and it could be from a bad guy or from a monster. It doesn't have to be, I think. We don't think of it as horror. We just think of it as intensity.
but yeah, we love that. My favorite thing going to a movie, no matter what genre, is that it makes me feel something.
Yeah. Of course.
So many movies you go to and you're
And
just like,
you feel nothing. Yeah.
Okay, that was pretty.
This
or,
is probably what's gonna happen.
okay.
It happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you can feel something in a movie, whether it's terror
Yeah.
or makes you laugh, like that's
or
a great
makes
movie.
you angry, or it
Or-
makes you sad.
right.
Like it's
Yeah. So we just love movies that make you feel.
Yeah.
So, and we love all the feelings.
All the feelings. Yeah,
And
okay.
so that's what we tried to stuff into Freaks.
Yeah.
All the feelings.
Like in Freaks, there's a character, the dad character at the beginning. You really hate him, and you really are like, just feeling really bad feelings towards him. You don't trust him. You think he's no good. You just want her to have nothing to do with him. But by the end, some people cry, when about how much they love him. So it's like, it's great being able to create stuff where
Yeah,
you
like a
have
roller coaster of
Yeah.
feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, Zach, how was it directing the Leprechaun Origins films? Were you familiar with the Leprechaun
Of
movies
course,
before?
yeah. It was not a very good experience making that movie, but it was a very informative experience.
It's a learning experience, everything.
Yeah,
So-
I really wanted to. It was one of my first films. I really thought there was a really great way to make a really cool movie. Unfortunately, I wasn't really given the ability to make a good movie, and there was a lot of decisions that were sort of out of my control that I tried very hard to fight, but they didn't lead to, I think, the best film. But there's a lot of stuff I'm really proud of. I think the things I did have control over, and some of the ways characters die, I was pretty excited by. I got to kill people in unique ways. And I think there's some shots and some ideas in there that are very cool. But yeah, overall, it was a very good learning experience for me. But it didn't lead to the best movie ever. But I'm still glad that I did it. It's
Yeah,
those
of course.
those are the I had a great time doing it.
Yeah.
But it was creatively very challenging. Yeah.
Well, so closing off, I have one question. Do you have any upcoming projects that you can talk about?
We have some we can't talk about, but we have a few that we can.
One of the really exciting things about when you make Freaks started as very, very small independent film. We had no money to make it, and eventually we got some investors and we were able to make it, but it was still a very, very small movie. We have been so happy and grateful for the reaction, great critic reviews, people in Hollywood seeing it, and it's opened a lot of doors.
In film festivals all around the world.
And now we have sold a couple other ideas that we are writing and directing, which never happened before. We've gotten hired to direct some things over the years, but never original projects that we've written. So there's one at Universal that is a big movie that we're writing with producers who did Wonder and Beauty and the Beast, the new Beauty and the Beast. And so this is an original idea of ours that we're writing for them.
You will still write together.
Yeah. And we're also writing something for Disney right now, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And we're also
no brains in that one. There's no.
Then I don't want to see.
Yeah, and we're also exploring a TV series of Freaks.
Really?
To tell what happens after.
Oh, okay. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. So you've got a lot going on. TV series,
Wow.
films, Disney. Wow.
It's all the thing about the film world is like, it's one thing to like start writing something, even if you're being paid to write it, but and that's really exciting and it's really fun to do, but it doesn't mean it's getting made. It's like a big there's a big
all
part
three of those
between-
things I mentioned. It's very likely that none of them will actually get made. We don't know.
But it's fun to write. It's fun to
We hope. We're trying our hardest, but
Yeah.
it's just there's a lot of ups and downs in that roller coaster.
Of course. Yeah. But thank you so much for coming on our show.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're so grateful to people like you spreading the word about our little movie.
Yeah.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
Yes. So watch Freaks if you get the chance. And bye.
Thank you.